Brooklyn, by the way,
but you know what? He knows about the Israelites because there's a video. It's probably still on there where he's on this radio show and somebody called in and said, you know, about the Hebrew, and he hurried up and he acknowledged it, but he hurried up and you know.
Yeah. 2 questions actually. I was just wondering, would you ever do like a historically accurate like Bible movie, like a Christian movie, like the Exodus or something, like with the Black Hebrews and all that, just to show, you know, just to show people where they came from, just to show like Black Americans where they came from or something like that?
That's a possibility, and I mean it's a great story, and so many of these recent Bible movies, whether in the cinema or on TV, you know, complexion I don't think is right. But let's have the next question. So many of these recent Bible movies, whether in the cinema or on TV, you know, complexion I don't think is right. You know, complexion I don't think is right. You know, complexion I don't think is right. But let's have the next question.
And Brooklyn, by the way, is being gentrified. How about that? His beloved Brooklyn. Yeah, he ain't making a movie about that, how Brooklyn is being gentrified.
Yeah, 'cause you in the pocket, son. Verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. Now, this is dealing with 70 AD. This is dealing with the Romans, and their standard was the eagle, the bald head eagle. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the person of the old, nor show favor to the young. And that's true. You know, during the time of 70 AD, they didn't show no mercy. And he shall eat the fruit of thy cattle and the fruit of thy land until thou be destroyed, which also shall not leave thee either corn, wine, or oil, or the increase of thy kind, or the flocks of thy sheep, until he have destroyed thee. And he shall besiege thee in all thy gates. And that started around 66 AD. But the point of it came to a head during 70 AD, and then even all the way up until 74 AD. You know, with Masada, and they were besieging Jake back then. It says, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates until thy high and fenced walls come down wherein thou trustest. And that happened because they shut everything from coming in. Masada, yep, that was another one. Throughout all thy land, and he shall besiege thee in all thy gates throughout all thy land, which the Lord thy power hath given thee. And thou shalt eat the fruit of thine own body, the flesh of thy sons and of thy daughters, which the Lord thy power hath given thee, in the siege and in the straitness wherein thine enemies shall distress thee. And that's the reason why the cannibalism took place, because it was a siege, and it was in a time of desperation, and it was part of the curse. So the Lord said that was going to happen.
And the Romans cut supplies from going in, all leaving out.
That's right.
You know,
so there was no food coming in or going out. So once they ran out of the supplies they had nothing else. So they had to eat their children.
Yeah, eat each other. Yep.
And eat each other. Yep, that's right. So that the man that is tender among you, meaning a man that was, the cool, easygoing and very delicate, his eyes shall be evil towards his brother. Why? Because they weren't going to give them none of what they had to eat, because it was rough, man. And toward the wife of his bosom, and toward the remnant of his children, which he shall leave, so that he will not give to any of them of the flesh of his children whom he shall eat, because he hath nothing left him in the siege and in the straitness, wherewith thine enemies shall distress thee in all thy gates. Thy tender and delicate woman among you, which would not adventure to set the sole of her foot upon the ground for delicateness and tenderness, her eyes shall be evil toward her husband of her bosom, and toward her son, and towards her daughter. And it's going to explain why she was like that. And toward her young ones that cometh out from between her feet, and toward her children which she shall bear. For she shall eat them for one of all things secretly in the siege and straitness, wherewith thine enemy shall distress thee in thy gates.
That's why Tommy Sotomayor makes that statement. He says black women are the worst stewards of children ever. Well, there it is right there. You just read why they're the worst stewards of children ever. It goes back to the curses. See, Tommy Sotomayor, he'll dramatize the situation, And he does that well, so well that it's netted him a good living. But he doesn't give you the other side because he really don't know it.
That's right.
He's not a prophet. We give you the other side, why it's happening. And yeah, he's just another Negro, so-called Negro. But he just gives you that one side, but he doesn't know the other side. That's where we come in, because we're showing that there's hope for our people. You watch it, hell, you watch Tommy Sotomayor, you think there's no hope for our people. The way he dramatized the pitfalls of Jake, you'll think, man, we ain't never gonna get out of this. We're doomed.
God. Verse 58: If thou wilt not observe to do all the words of this law that are written in this book, that thou mayest fear that glorious and fearful name, Yahweh thy power, then Yahweh will make thy plagues wonderful, and the plagues of thy seed, even great plagues, and of long continuance, and sore sickness, and of long continuance. Moreover, he will bring upon thee all the diseases of Egypt, which thou was afraid of, and they shall cleave unto thee. Also every sickness and every plague which is not written in the book of this law, then will the Lord bring upon thee until thou be destroyed. Even HIV, AIDS, Ebola, Zika, and all them new diseases newly coming up. And you shall be left few in number, whereas you were as the stars of heaven for multitude, because thou wouldest not obey the voice of the Lord thy power. And it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoices over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught. And you shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it, which that land is Israel, so they got plucked out of that land.
You're not cursed going back to that land. The HODC heads proved that. They went over there and they were made mockery of, man. First of all, they told you them so-called Jews should have recognized that you were Israelites because you had the long garments and the fringes on. You know what they did? They said, we ain't with that shit. You got to take them that get up off. And then on top of that, you had to put a beanie on your head and drink dirty water. And then you got this clown, Alizé, calling them guys Saquon.
Oh boy. Anyway, and the Lord shall scatter thee among all people from the one end of earth even unto the other, and there thou shalt serve other gods which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, even wood and stone. And pretty much that's the scattering of Israel among all nations. And among these nations shalt thou find no ease, neither shall the sole of thy foot have rest. And you don't have no rest, man. It says, but the Lord shall give thee there a trembling heart and failing of eyes and sorrow of mind.
Perfect example. Brother, the Jake out there in Tulsa, Oklahoma, that got shot down. Right before he got shot, he was trembling, man. And the other brother in North Carolina, and Michael Brown, and all these other ones, and you and Eric Gardner, and you devils are gonna have to pay for that, man.
And then I was thinking about this earlier, but the Spirit brought it back. The so-called Latinos and Native American Indians, they're getting killed by the cops too, but it's not really on the news because the Most High wants to stir Judah up first. That's the reason why the everything that's shown is shown. Yep. And that's why, because the Lord is stirring up Judah first, because Judah got to stand up first, and then the other tribes will come in. They'll follow Judah. That's right. Thou art he whom thy brethren shall praise. It says, and thy life shall hang in doubt before thee. These guys, you don't know if you go and get pulled over by a cop, if you're gonna live, or if you're gonna get shot, or if you're gonna get killed, or if you're gonna be in a hospital. It says, and thou shalt fear day and night, and they pull you over in the daytime and at nighttime, and shall have and shall have none assurance of thy life. You don't know if you're gonna make it home that night. That's why if you do make it home that night, you praise the Lord, which is going to say, in the morning thou shalt say, would the Most High were even, or the Lord will I make it to the evening. It says, and at evening thou shalt say, would the Most High it were morning, or the Lord at night, Lord can allow me to make it to the morning, to the next day. It says, for the fear of thine heart wherewith thou shalt fear, and for the sight of thine eyes which thou shalt see. And that's why Jake is now starting to rise up, because they're seeing that these devils are coming at them, and they're like robots. No, they're just terminators, just killing Jake left and right. It says, which thou shalt see. It says, and the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships, which is talking about those cargo slave ships. Egypt being America, which is spiritually called Egypt. When you read the book of Revelation, the 11th chapter, by the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again, meaning your land. You're not going to see your land anymore. And there you shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen. And all you got to do is type in slavery, on Google Images, and it'll show you all the different images of slavery.
Ain't gonna show you the so-called Jews.
Nah, they ain't gonna show you not one so-called Jew. They ain't gonna show you no white people. It's gonna show you the black man, and every once in a while you see a picture of the so-called Latinos and Native American Indians.
Even the Sicilians, a lot of them, they were hung. Down south, right? Yeah, down south, New Orleans. You had Sicilians that were hanging on trees. And I read some of the captions. They said the Sicilian was worse than the Negro in some cases. Damn. They said they're a lying bunch of, lying bunch of conniving people,
I typed in Google slavery, and it came up with slavery in America. And look what you get. It's all Jake. Pretty much some of the same pictures when I put up Yoke of Iron. That's your bar right there in the reincarnation. To be sold, Negro, blah, blah, blah. Slavery to sell a Negro man. So this is, overwhelming proof that we're the Israelites. All right? Look at that. The white man whipping the black woman. So there's going to be a change of worlds, man.
Yeah, every time you see a white man in them slave pictures, he either buying or whipping Jake. And it says that no man shall buy you. Sorry.
Yeah, I got the this is from Rasta Live Wire. It says, when Italians were blacks, the dark-skinned Sicilians. Here are some interesting facts or interesting things. Southern Italians were considered black in the South, as down south, right? And were subjected to the Jim Crow laws of segregation. They weren't allowed to marry whites. It was difficult, damn near impossible. They were designated as black on census forms if they lived in the South, and that is because the majority of them were dark-skinned Sicilians. Mass lynchings happened to them often. One of the biggest mass lynchings happened to the Italians in New Orleans when they were thought that an Italian immigrant had killed a white police officer. All right, so a lot of them think they so-called white, but they ain't nothing but so-called Negroes. They suffered the same curses that Jake was suffering, man.
Yep, that's right. So the last part of this is and no man shall buy you. Why? Because no man's gonna be able to redeem you. No man's gonna buy you back. The only one that's gonna buy us back is when Yahushua comes. The Most High is gonna send His Son Yahushua to redeem us out of this situation. Nobody, no matter who you are, no matter how smart you think you are, no matter how much money you have, nobody is going to be able to get us out of this condition. And that's why no matter what has happened for the last however many years, no matter who stood up or rose up, nobody was able to get us out of this condition.
But only Yahushua. Yeah, they give this article, they give some of the countries, 80% of Italian immigrants were from southern Italy, Sicily, Abruzzo, Calabria, Campania, and Sardinia, and Naples. So that's it. Yeah, that's it.
So with that, we're going to say shalom or shalom, and catch us on the next show. Shalom.